she invited me to the Sunday feast. I bought a Back to Godhead magazine issue, volume 36. I remember that very well. I remember the cover. And I said, well, can you tell me something about the philosophy, just something? And she, like a well-trained book distributor, she said, well, everything is in the books. But I pressed her. I said, tell me something until tomorrow. She said, okay. She said, do you believe that you are eternal? And I thought about that. I said, yes. That resonates with me. Then she said, so if you are eternal, you cannot possibly be your material body. Mm. And that made sense. Now I was getting enlivened because I was hearing philosophy, and I was like a thirsty, dry sponge, and this was just nectar to me. And then she said, so if you're eternal and you're not your body, third point is then you're in body now. So it's logical to think you've had many lives. You'll have past lives, present life, and future lives. And that made sense to me. And then she said, the fourth point, she said, so if you're eternal, you're not your body, and you've had many lives, well, then just give your one life to Krishna, this life. And if you don't like it, then in your next life, do something else.
That's great. That's a great sales point right there.
And I was sold. I said, sign me up.
Yeah.
I can't comprehend why you're killing me. I don't understand why you're putting me down. We see the same sun going up. We walk the same ground. Promise me. Promise me.
Welcome to the Eighth Element Podcast. My name is Buzz Ryan.
I'm Gargs Allard.
And we have our very special guest, Pushpavan Prabhu, a very illuminated disciple of Srila Prabhupada, who I was very inspired by. You and I are in a men's group together.
Yes.
And a couple weeks ago, you had just returned from 3 months in India. And usually in the men's group, each of us spends 10 minutes or so or more telling about whatever's on our mind. And because you had come back from India, you had a whole plethora of experiences and realizations that you wanted to share to the group. And we decided that as you got going in your presentation of your experience, it was like a magical mystery tour. It was just really profoundly touching and inspiring and mystical and very personal. So nobody else talked that night. We just let you talk. And then after the meeting, one of the other guys said, hey, why don't you have Pushpavan on your show? And voila, here we are.
And here I am.
Maybe you could give the audience a brief summary of your background, and then we can launch into.
Sure.
And anyway, thank you for being with us.
It's my pleasure to be here. I'm looking forward to talking with everybody today. I met the devotees in 1969 in Washington, D.C. I heard a Harinam on the streets of Georgetown, which was like the East Village of Washington, D.C. at that time. And I heard the kartals, and I'd never heard that sound before, and it captivated me, and I wanted to know where it was coming from. So I followed the sound. This was on like a Friday or a Saturday night, so it was really...
How old were you at this time?
I was 15 at that time.
The wise old age of 15.
Yes. Just finished with puberty. And I followed the sound, and I saw the devotees chanting. And a little bit about myself, I had been very insecure as a child, like most children are. I stuttered a great deal. I was in speech therapy. I spent a year in a mental institution in my 9th grade. I was sent by court order. And it was a psychiatric boys' home outside of Washington, D.C. So I had troubled youth, very uncomfortable in my own skin. And when I saw the devotees chanting with total abandonment to the way they looked, to how people were mocking them or showing interest, I just said, they have something that I want. And at that moment, I said, that's what I want to do with my life. I am what I would call low-hanging fruit. I didn't know anything about the philosophy. I didn't know anything. I had read Hermann Hesse's book, Siddhartha, and a few things. I was a vegetarian. So I just saw the devotees. And
what made you become a vegetarian before?
I don't,
at that young age.
I don't remember what the catalyst was, but I just adopted that. That's lost in time. So this was in 10th grade, and it was the winter, and then as summer came, I finished my 10th grade, and I ran away from home. And I spent 3 weeks hitchhiking around the East Coast. And I knew that this was in August, and I knew that September was coming. But before that, I went to the temple. I went back to Georgetown, where I met where I had first seen the devotees. And the temple president's wife was there doing book distribution. Her name was Riga Netri. Her husband was Damodar. They had both come from 2nd Avenue, one of the young couples that were sent to open temples around the world. And Washington was obviously a great place to go to. And she invited me to the Sunday feast. I bought a Back to Godhead magazine issue, volume 36. I remember that very well. I remember the cover. And I said, well, can you tell me something about the philosophy, just something? And she, like a well-trained book distributor, she said, well, everything is in the books. But I pressed her. I said, tell me something until tomorrow. She said, okay. She said, do you believe that you are eternal? And I thought about that. I said, yes. That resonates with me. Then she said, so if you are eternal, you cannot possibly be your material body. And that made sense. Now I was getting enlivened, because I was hearing philosophy, and I was like a thirsty, dry sponge, and this was just nectar to me. And then she said, so if you're eternal and you're not your body, third point is, then you're embodied now, so it's logical to think you've had many lives. You'll have past lives, present life, and future lives. And that made sense to me. And then she said, the fourth point, she said, so if you're eternal, you're not your body, and you've had many lives, well, then just give your one life to Krishna, this life, and if you don't like it, then in your next life, do something else.
That's great. That's a great sales point right there.
And I was sold. I said, sign me up.
Yeah.
I went to the Sunday feast the next day, and I camped out and slept outside in a park. And the next day I went, and I just wanted to move in. And I said, shave me up, please. And
so she didn't say, try the chanting for an hour. If you like it, you can continue, or you can just, forget about it. She said, dedicate this life. Yeah. It's only, just one life. What's the big deal?
Right. It was like the bait and switch, right?
She went for the full enchilada right in the beginning.
Right from the very beginning. And I see her as my shiksha. Mm-hmm. Although at that time in 1970, this term shiksha didn't exist.
Shiksha means instructing spiritual master.
Yes, that in our lexicon, that didn't. But she was bringing me closer to this path of bhakti. So I carry a photograph of her in my phone, and she passed away several years ago, but I sometimes I come across her photo. So that's my brief introduction. I was very young.
And then in terms of the, you were mentioning some of these things that you were, I believe, temple president in Gita Nagari. Maybe just give a quick overview of some of your illustrious accomplishments in the mission of Srila Prabhupada.
Well, those who know me will know me for two things, and that I'm
a very sweet guy.
Well, that would
Sweet,
be
humble
that
soul.
would be a third thing, but I'm known as a festival cook. I would cook large gatherings, 500,000. I once cooked for 5,000 people at a Rath Yatra. No, it wasn't Rath Yatra. It was a Janmashtami in a Potomac. We dug outside pits, holes in the ground, and we put metal grates on. We put big pots, and we cooked outside. And then the other thing I would be known for was that I like to garden. I grew up. My father was an avid gardener. We had a greenhouse. We had everything. We had roses. We had Japanese gardens. We had koi pond. We had you just name it. And my father grew it. He was such a expert gardener. And I just grew up in that. And by osmosis, I have become a gardener. And I'm very much attracted to.
What are the different types of plants and different types of sundries that you grow, and what is the most what makes it so meaningful to you?
Well, there's a lot of things that I find appealing. When you read our literature, flowers are mentioned a great deal. Flower petals, flower garlands. Krishna has designed his own planet in the shape of a flower. And I like flowers, and I also like fragrant flowers. So right now in my garden, I'm specializing in growing things that are all fragrant. I have tuberose, I have roses, I have plumeria, I have different types of jasmine. There's over 200 varieties of jasmine, and I have about 3 now. And I have gardenia, I have gladiolus, marigolds. I tried dahlias, and our climate is way too warm. They do much better in places like Seattle, Portland. So I'm constantly trying new varieties,
and the flowers are the, I would imagine that, because I really don't know so much about this. I really appreciate it because it's such a beautiful thing to do, be so close to nature and Mother Earth, and then offering those fruits to Krishna for his pleasure. So does the temple use a lot of your flowers?
100%.
Yeah.
My garden is for the deity use exclusively. I was just reading this morning in a compilation called Speaking on Varnashrama, and Srila Prabhupada was in the Paris farm in 1976. And the temple president is saying, we're growing chickpeas, we're growing the flowers in your vase, we also grew. And Srila Prabhupada said that something that you can buy in the market is 100 times better if you can grow it yourself.
Right, I've heard that.
Yes.
I've heard Prabhupada say that.
Could I read a little quote from Srila Prabhupada about flowers and Krishna? He basically said that when you see flower, you see Krishna smiling.
Yes. Yes. So what is it about flowers? They're just so beautiful.
Oh, and there's the back of Krishna book. I used to meditate when I was a brahmachari monk living in the temple. I think it was either the first or second volume, and I have the painting of that by Bhaktivinoda, who did a painting of Prabhupada
He's looking at
the flower, and you could just sense from Srila Prabhupada's facial physiognomy that he's contemplating the majesty and beauty and glory of Krishna, that he's created this magnificent piece of art in the form of a flower that has a beautiful fragrance.
I know the photo you're referring to.
Yeah.
He's looking at a yellow plumeria,
Oh,
also
I never knew that.
also known as a champak.
Yes, a champak.
Oh,
Yes.
Wow. And his expression is so, it's loving, it's sublime, it's contemplative. And I remember I used to chant my rounds, my japa mala, meditating in the park in Denver.
Oh.
And it was very, very, very sweet and sublime.
Srila Prabhupada would also say that a flower is a proof of the existence of God.
Yes.
Or, the insect can it can fly, it can, it just try to create a fly.
Yeah, like Prabhupada says, they can create the 747, but can you create a mosquito, a tiny thing that can fly?
Yes. So flowers are in our culture. Also in Kali Yuga, it is described that flowers are considered gems for deity decoration, that in this yuga it's not advised to dress the deities in opulent gems and precious metals, because they don't invite thieves.
We saw that happened in Radhakund recently. There was an unfortunate incident. But
so in this yuga, flowers are considered precious gems. So
what's your favorite flower?
right now, I have
look at his face light up.
I have to say roses. I'm right now working with a local rose grower who's been in Florida most of her life, and she's a wholesaler, and she's helping me design a garden, choosing the varieties, and she's very sensitive to Krishna consciousness. She says, "I know exactly what you want." So we're now planting. It's going to be about 2,500 square foot garden over 100 bushes.
Wow.
And the flowers they're beginning to bloom now. I do like the cycle that something will bloom. It has its season, and it takes a break, and then something else will come into.
They're almost like your children.
Yes, yeah, I would say that. Also, my name Pushpavan is a direct reference. Pushpa means flower, and Van means forest. So the Pushpavan is a forest of flowers. And
my wife would love to meet you, because she's always like growing different plants and that bloom at different times, in our yard. So she'd like to have some inside tips, I'm sure.
Well, for me, it's like second nature. I can almost hear the plants talking to me. I'm quite sensitive and aware of their needs.
So what are some of the big reveal? What are some of the things that the plants have expressed to you?
Water is primary request, and they get droopy. You can just tell they don't look turgid. Is the term for when plants are full of water and they're packed up with the water, turgid. Insects, they can't get rid of the insects themselves. They're very dependent. They don't have arms and legs, and they're not mobile the way we are. So they are like children in many ways that we have to care for.
They're living beings. They're sentient beings.
They are, and I love the fact that I can offer their beauty to Krishna, and they will also benefit. There was one Shankar Prabhu who passed away recently.
I know Shankar very well.
He asked Srila Prabhupada, "What is the benefit? What benefit do these plants get that we bring them a flower from their bush? What do they get?" And Srila Prabhupada said that they, in the cycle, the evolutionary cycle, they can go to the front of the line and take birth as a human form. So they can go from a plant form, which is in the evolutionary cycle, and they can jump forward substantially.
As opposed to going through many other plant forms, fish, mammals, insects, mammals.
Yes,
they can save perhaps hundreds of thousands of lifetimes.
Yes, it's considered to be less advanced if you're immobilized and you're rooted to a particular spot. So if you become mobile, that's considered to be a more advanced form.
I find it interesting that you mentioned roses, because when Srila Prabhupada spoke with John Lennon, George Harrison, and Yoko Ono, he gave an analogy that roses are the best flowers, objectively. And I think George or something said, well, somebody might like a marigold, somebody might like this. And he said, yes, that's there, but roses are the best flowers, objectively. I think he was speaking in context in terms of, Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, I don't remember exactly, but he did say objectively roses are the best in that at least in that particular conversation.
Well, I'm fond of all of them. I'm fond of the night-scented varieties that they release their aroma after nightfall.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's an interesting little thing. The plant has its photosynthesis, where it's gathering its nutrients from the soil and the sun, and it's processing this intake of energy, and then at nighttime it releases its digestive gases, and that's
what the smell is.
That is the fragrance for night scented
flower farts. Is that what you're calling?
Yes, I didn't want to say that.
Another name of her band. Tonight, the flower farts.
Your flower farts are so fragrant. They're delicious.
Who's opening up for the flower farts? We'll have to think of that one. Anyway, what's your favorite fragrance of a flower that releases its fragrance in the evening?
Well, the tuberose, also known as Rajinigandha, extremely fragrant. That was the first flower that I grew on a large scale for the temple. George Washington grew them at Mount Vernon.
Really?
Yes, it was a Victorian age specialty. It was a delight. Completely tropical too. So to grow them in Washington D.C. and Mount, it would have to be dug up in the fall and brought back into spring. But
so
tuberose are very. But I have to say, they're all nice. But gardenia is.
I love gardenia.
That is a captivating.
Captivating scent.
Yes.
Yeah, we have some here in our garden downstairs. Yeah. So you just got back from India, as I was saying, and it was 3 months of a transcendent magical mystery tour. That was a cool record back in the day. It was very, as I was saying in the intro, I found it very, it's like through your experience, all of us could enter into that magical, transcendent land. And you had many fascinating experiences with people. So wherever you want to go with that, we just kind of wanted to bring our audience on that journey and see and experience it through your eyes and through your heart, what you experienced there. So wherever you want to start, my friend,
okay,
take it from there.
I was, when we had the men's group, I was like 72 hours off of the plane.
Right.
I was fresh with my experience. I should say, or I could say that my wife and I have our second home in Mayapur. We have an apartment in Rasamrita Kunj. And
explain where Mayapur is for our guests that are not familiar.
Well, if you can close your eyes for a second and imagine India on the map. It's in a V shape. And if you go up the right side of the V, pretty far, there's the Kolkata. It sits close to the Bay of Bengal, but not directly on the ocean. The Ganges flows through Kolkata, and it comes down in a northwesterly angle, and about 90 to 100 kilometers north of Kolkata is Mayapur. You can open your eyes now.
Thank you.
So I hope that helped
That
you.
was an immersive experience.
You could visualize.
That was great.
So about 90 kilometers, they've built a very nice highway now, and it's about 2.5 hours. Mayapur is in West Bengal, and it is the birth site of modern Gaudiya Vaishnavism, dating back about 500 years ago. The Yuga avatar, known as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, appeared in West Bengal, and he propagated. He had a life there. He had his childhood life, and then later he became a mendicant, and he traveled around India preaching. But the birthplace of the Hare Krishna movement, the modern birthplace, is in West Bengal, in Mayapur. So our international society has their world headquarters in Mayapur. It's a sprawling campus. It just goes in so many directions, so many avenues and buildings, and there's full-time residents within our ISKCON society is about 7,000. And then during festival season, it'll swell to 15,000, 16,000 people. Mm-hmm. The local people, the Bengalis, they come and visit Mayapur. For them, going on vacation means to go to the Holy Dham. Mm-hmm. They don't necessarily they don't have a Disneyland in India that I'm aware of anyway, but they come to Mayapur. And on any given month, there'll be 75,000 to 100,000 visitors. On a yearly average right now, 9 million visitors, pilgrims are coming. So
very substantial.
So it's crowded, and it's being the international headquarters. There's a lot of offices there. We have our very, very large deity there, Radha Madhava and the Panchatattva. They're probably the largest ISKCON deities in the world that are being worshipped now. They're 6.5 to 7 feet tall. Their presence is powerful, to say the least. And of course, the big project is the TOVP, that's an acronym for Temple of Vedic Planetarium. And that is a massive 650,000 square foot. That's the footprint, 650,000 square feet, and it has three domes. It's designed and fashioned after the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., where you have the Senate, the House of Representatives, and then the large rotunda in the middle.
Srila Prabhupada, after seeing that,
yes,
he specifically stated that he wanted the TOVP, correct me if I'm wrong, or clarify that he wanted the Temple of Vedic Planetarium to be modeled after the DC.
Yes.
Can you extrapolate on that?
Well, I was in Washington at that time.
Huh.
And it was in Potomac, Maryland, but we say Washington, D.C. And it was the 4th of July, 1976, and that was the 200th anniversary of the founding of our great society, America. The Constitution was ratified in 1776. And it was a huge celebration, and hundreds of thousands of people would go down to the Smithsonian, which is what they call the Mall. We all are familiar with the Washington Monument, which is very close to the White House. And then the monument, the Washington Monument, has 15 or 16 blocks of open park, and it looks right at the Capitol building. And Srila Prabhupada was driven down with a group, into this throng of celebratory 4th of July. And when he was downtown, he saw the Capitol building with his own eyes. Then the very next day, our photographer, Yadubara, was in Washington. He would travel with His Divine Grace. He and Vishaka would travel and photograph and make films and document and record as much of daily activity. And he sent Yadubar down to photograph the Washington building. And Yadubar had no idea what the purpose was, but Srila Prabhupada asked him to go, so he did. So the TOVP is fashioned after the Capitol building, our seat of government. And that is been under construction in Mayapur for 15 plus years now. It's a massive project. The center dome is 420 feet from tip to toes, and the two side domes are about 350 feet tall. And it's the largest dome structure in Southeast Asia, and fashioned after the European styles of the great temples and churches. And it's a massive undertaking. It's been something that our acharyas previous to Srila Prabhupada had envisioned, had desired. And it's to demonstrate, well, so many things. It's a very powerful draw for people to come. And our hope is that we will be able to show the Vedic understanding of the universal cosmology.
Hence Temple of Vedic Planetarium.
Yes, we in our scriptures, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the structure of the universe is described, and it can be made into a model, and it will be informative. And when I was there, and this past year, they have been talking for years about building the chandelier that will hang from the center dome, and it will show the our understanding of what the universe is like, upper, middle, and lower planets. And they were actually building the chandelier. They had actually started. They were welding large pieces of stainless steel pipe together, and for me, it was fantastic to see that something that had been envisioned in such a big, grand plan, sort of really out of our boathouse of experience. We are building this temple that is magnificent.
How far along is it now?
Well, the superstructure is finished, and that was many, many years in the developing that. There are 2,200 stainless steel pilings that were pounded into the earth, 70, 80, 90 feet down, and that took 2 years or 20, a very long time.
Wow.
They never hit bedrock, but they could, as the pilings were being, tamped down, different odors were emanating, and they could tell, a geologist could tell where they were in the Ganga plains, these sands that had been over millennium had been piling up. But a engineer said 70, 80 feet, and you have so many of these. This is stable.
Could I ask a question? I don't want to get political or anything, and I'm in awe that they're doing this. But you were there, and you were watching in beholding the whole spectacle. Some devotees criticize that it's being done because there are devotees who don't, who are suffering, who gave their life to the movement, and they think that some of those funds should be allocated toward them. So I'm just wondering, when you were there, what you felt and what you feel the importance of doing this, and without neglecting those other things, obviously. But
well, everybody is suffering in this material world, And the idea is to bring them, to attract them. And that would be for their benefit. I don't know if it's I understand that many devotees gave so much. Actually, one time I was speaking with a devotee, and those who might know the history after the disappearance of our spiritual master in 1977, it was a very difficult time. A sociologist said most new religions will fail within 20 years of the passing of the charismatic founder. And if they can get past this 20-year period, then the chances of their success and their adjusting to life after the founder is hopeful. So during that immediate period, our society went through a tremendous upheaval. Our society had also grown beyond the bounds of what the initial structure was, us all living in the temple. And there were different people who made different choices. Some people left to get jobs, to support themselves. The temple could no longer support us. When little Radha needs braces, the temple is not going to be able to pay the monthly payment to the...
Is that your daughter?
No, but I had Gita and Gaur, and both of them were in braces.
Okay, there you go.
My daughter's name is Radha, and she did get braces.
Okay.
There you go.
We weren't living in the temple.
All right, so listen, we have with us a special guest. The mystery woman has made an appearance.
I have made an appearance for all of you. I love you all.
And she's here because, she wants everybody to subscribe. Right, Gargs? Is that what she wants?
Yeah. She didn't want to be on camera for a while, but now she's absolutely motivated because of the subscription situation.
Yeah, we have a situation.
So could you tell us about the subscription situation, Rukmini, please?
Sure. All you need to do is take your pointy finger and you just need to click on subscribe. Or on the keyboard.
Can people handle that instruction? I mean,
I think they can figure it out.
What do you think, Gargs?
Well, my granddaughter told her younger brother, my grandson, the way to end the call was to press on the red button.
Oh.
She said, you can press on the red button. So if he can do it, you can press on the subscribe button. And we're not just talking about YouTube, are we, Ryan? I mean, Buzz and Rukmini.
It's so easy to forget. Yeah, it would help us out immensely if you guys could support us by subscribing. And you'll be the first to be notified when we pass away. I mean, when the new video comes out. So please subscribe to our channel. We'd be massively grateful.
We're talking about all social media here.
Instagram, Facebook.
We've got X,
TikTok,
Rumble.
X marks the spot, Rumble.
And, of course, MySpace.
Please subscribe, and there you go.
So the temple could not support, and on the level that as parents we would like to see them supported. These are our children; they are in our care, and we had to care for them. And so different people made different decisions, and some people moved out of the temple, which is what I did, and became more of a congregational member. In other words, as a householder, I was giving my money. I was giving some of my time. And then there were other people who decided to stay during this traumatic period. And they said, and this person who was speaking to me, he said, you moved out, you apparently became successful. You have money, you have a home, you have a second home. So obviously you had a certain degree of success. I was holding the fort down in your absence, and I feel that you should try to support me a little bit. And I think that kind of might encapsulate this mood that we have to take care of our own. And I do agree with that. And I can say that both things have to go on, and one doesn't have to be sacrificed at the expense of the other thing.
And I also think that though it's a very exceptionally important point to take care of the devotees, it's just like, we had this rescue of this airman in Iran, and the United States government lost millions of dollars of equipment to save this one man. And it really, there's in the Art of War by Sun Tzu says, if the general treats his troops and his soldiers like they're his own sons, and they feel that love and care from the general, then they will dedicate life and soul up until death through the general. Mm. So I think that principle really speaks, and really people felt that from this particular rescue mission that happened. And I think you could project that on to the leadership of any society, a corporation, but especially a spiritual culture, religious spiritual culture, as in the Krishna consciousness movement, to protect and care for the devotees as if they were all their children. And, there's been a lot of neglect, especially in the Zonawacharya days. So I think that principle is so important. At the same time, we also have to see what were the tantamount desires expressed by our spiritual master, by the founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada. And there's unquestionably one of the greatest tantamount desires of his divine grace was the building of this Mayapur project. So the whole world could come, and not for his self-aggrandizement or to prove that we have something, but to attract people from all over the world to experience this, just like you experienced this sublime transformation when you were there just recently. It was I got that from you when you spoke at our meeting, this transformation of your heart. And so people could see and come and experience viscerally the Sankirtan movement, the magnanimity of Lord Chaitanya and his mission. And Prabhupada wanted that, so that has to be there.
Yes, both things have to be there, and I agree that we were young children, in our 20s and 30s, relatively speaking, and we were just evolving as human beings, what to speak of embracing this new Vaishnavism. And we failed in many ways. We failed the first generation of children in a profound way. And if I have anything to say, as I'm basically an optimist, and I have the privilege of having the arc of time that I've witnessed our society, and I certainly see the faults, and I acknowledge them, but I also see the improvements that we are making, and that we now have, like here in Alachua, we have our elder care package where the older devotees are taking care of the end-of-life rites, the taking them to their doctor's appointments, the food train if you just went in for surgery, let's say, and you can't cook for your family. There's a website you can go to and you can give the dates that, and the meal preferences, and ask help of the community. And our community rallies around that. So I do, and there are hospice projects that are standing up. We have hospitals now, several of them. We have a large hospital in Bombay, Mumbai, and we have a hospital in Mayapur, which is growing. There's a new project in Kolkata. It's I visited there. It's in a new part of the city called Newtown.
All right. You were telling about Newtown.
And they are also, in their master plan, they have a hospital. elder care and housing for elder people. So they're building that into what is important. So if we can learn from the past and make improvements, I would say that I'm optimistic, and I do see that in time we will be more of a full-bodied society, and we have more that we can offer.
Thank you for addressing that. I didn't want to be a downer or anything in the middle of your ecstatic story.
Well,
but I knew people would bring it up,
And
so,
we
I think it's important.
It's important, yeah.
And we had the understanding that if I surrender to Krishna, the society will care for me for the rest of my life. If I'm giving to you, then there's this contract. Maybe it wasn't spelled out in such blatant terms that we will care for you, but it was part of the understanding, and I'm very sorry for those who feel like they've been cheated or abused, and in the future, and we are making progress. So,
thank you for all that. I would thank you for your thoughts and realizations in that regard, and I would agree. Back to your experience. So you were talking about the structure, the 2,200 pipes, right?
the pylons.
What are they called?
Pylons.
Pylons.
And how far in the ground do they go?
About 80 feet.
Wow.
Yeah. So you had this experience where there was this boat of tourists from all over the world that were coming down the Ganges River, and they stopped in Mayapur. Can you explain that? And then how you took them around and their experiences.
Did they ask you where your motherland was?
No, they didn't ask that. We only had about an hour and a half.
Okay.
And so what this was, it was a tour group. They were mostly European and Americans.
Oh, I see.
And they buy this 3-week tour, and part of their India immersion experience is that they go on they're taken on a river float down the Ganga from farther upstream. I don't know where they started. I did ask them where they were going after they got to Calcutta, and they said we're going to the Maldives Islands. So that's a flight for sure. So these people came down, and we have a lot to show them, and a lot to see. And a god brother of mine said that there's a group of 50 coming down, and I had expressed some interest. And he said, well, why don't you join me and assist me? So
who was that?
His name is Paramdam.
Okay.
He's British, and he's, we're conjoined twins. And so we met at the Samadhi, and that needs to be explained a little bit. The Samadhi is like a mausoleum, if I'm saying it right. And it's in memory of our founder, our guru. And it's where some of his his remains are there in the form of flower petals. It's called a Pushpa Samadhi. And it's also a domed structure. Mm-hmm. And it's at the front of the property. So we met the group of 50, and then 50 is a lot for one tour guide. So they were broken into 2 separate groups, and I had one group. And we showed them the Samadhi, and then we walked around the campus past the TOVP, past the front side of the TOVP, and then we walked to the present-day temple, which is in what I call downtown Mayapur. And I was supposed to help, but they gave me the only headset that had the microphone. So I was speaking, and they have headsets that they can hear from. So I was taking them around and explaining them, and I was very happy to do it. I felt very proud when I got to the TOVP, and things like something that might be irritating for a devotee, like, when is it going to be finished? This has been going on for 15 years. For me, I said, and we've been building this for 15 years.
I was there in 86. They were building the Samadhi.
Yes.
In 86.
Yeah, it took a long time, the Samadhi. It stalled for a long time.
Devotees were sleeping up on the top because it was too hot.
No.
Or toward the top.
My first year was first year in India was 1978. So I was experiencing great pride. And I was saying this in the men's group, and I said to everybody, I said, there's 400 men inside there. They're artisans, they're craftsmen, and you could hear the sound of the construction coming out of the building. And one of the visitors, she was just she said, wow. She said, I'm coming back. I want to come back and see this.
Wow.
And I said, unfortunately, we don't have enough time to go inside. And there are some areas. There's 3 domes, as I was describing. The East Dome, which is where Lord Nrsingadev is all but finished. And then the Center Dome, which is the largest dome, is under construction. And they have this another line in the sand, Kartik's, not Kartik, Srila Prabhupada's disappearance in 2027. It'll be the 50th year of his passing, and they've made a line in the sand. They want to have the middle dome to the point where they can move the deities from where they are now into the middle dome. And what that means is it's a huge accomplishment, because it cannot be a construction site. There cannot be welders and dust flying around and people grinding the floors. I mean, it basically has to be all but buttoned up. Mm-hmm. So it's a huge undertaking. And then the other dome, the West Dome, is the least developed right now. It's a storage facility in part for all the building materials.
Wow.
And that will be the science museum. So it's coming in phases. And so I was telling these guests that this is what's going on, and I just felt, like I said, I felt very proud of our accomplishment. I didn't feel embarrassed at all that this is taking so long. I mean, you look at the cathedrals in Europe, and they were generational.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You know, and that my great grandfather worked here, my father worked here, and probably my son will work here as well. You know,
it's a monumental endeavor.
Yes, and this is something we've never. I mean, this is really taking on a lot, and we probably didn't have the clear understanding. But Saad Buj, who is an Australian who has been in Mayapur for 45 years and has been working on the TOV project from day one, practically speaking. I was speaking with him, and he said, a day doesn't go by that 100 people don't ask me when is it going to be finished. and he said, I said, you must have many answers, because they want to hear something. And he said, I do. I have many answers. I also say, just be grateful that it was even started.
Yeah, great answer.
So I worked with this group for about an hour and a half. We went and took them to the temple room, and Radha Madhava side and Panchatattva side. And this being my first time, it was I didn't know what to say, but I do remember saying, look at their beautiful dress, how the beautiful top, how it's coordinated with this beautiful bottom, and how all 8 of them are wearing different outfits, but they all tie in together. And look at the beautiful flower decorations, the cleanliness of the altar, and know that they have over 100 of these outfits, just as nice as this one. And they were appreciating. They could see something. And
Did they ask you about the significance of the deities and how the deities, and did you explain that they're a manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead?
Well, these people know absolutely nothing,
Right?
And you have to understand your audience.
Right.
So I didn't necessarily say it like that.
Yeah.
I did say that we are personalist and we view God as the supreme person. Someone had asked about what is the chamara, what is the fan? And I said, well, the fan, I said, it's very hot. Wouldn't you like someone to fan you? Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't you enjoy that? So we are offering personal service, and we feel that the Lord accepts these forms, and He accepts our offering. And I said, we're in training, and we're practicing this devotional, personal philosophy. And they accepted that. I mean, I don't know how they received it. One lady asked, we're on the Panchatattva side, why are their hands red? Why is, and someone told me that Ramdam said, this is a very common question. They see pictures of Kali and they see the blood and the gore and this, and they thought that Chaitanya's hands were covered in blood. And what is he proclaiming here? What is this about? And I just said, well, look at your own hands. I said, not only are their hands reddish, but their feet are also reddish. And I said, and sometimes they're pinkish, not always red. I said, look at your own hands, and they're pinkish. You have blood inside, and this is a representation of the personality of God, that He has pinkish hands, He has reddish hands, as a way to give a simple answer. And they accepted that.
When you were there, was all the flowers in full display?
The season, yes. The season, it was full on, definitely. And then there were some things that were beginning to come in. Summer was, the hotter weather was beginning to really come on strong. But the plumeria, the champaks were just starting to crank up. They have acres and acres of roses. They have acres of dahlias, and they were in full production. The tuberose were finishing up. The marigolds were, and they have a lot more. The deity flower garden is, I'm only guessing, somewhere between 20 and 25 acres.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Who takes care of it?
Many local farmer types who are experienced. Bengalis are they're paid. And you would see them bringing in baskets and baskets of flowers for the deity, the garland making that would be going on during the morning program. It'd be like 30 women behind the Vyasasan on the Radha Madhava side, and they would be making the fresh garlands, fresh flowers being brought in.
It's such a beautiful thing, it's like the whole cottage industry of growing the flowers, making the flower, cutting the flowers, making the flower garlands, offering to the Lord, offering to the deity form of the Lord. It's this kind of the simplicity of the culture, and the simplicity of the devotion from earth to the garland, and then to offering to the Lord. It's just like this simple expression of love.
Yeah, yes.
Beautiful.
Not coming from a factory.
Yeah. So the people that, I remember you were saying how they were pretty astounded at the whole experience of the majesty of, and also of the spiritual culture. Maybe you can speak to their, you had discussed these things when we, your talk at the group.
Well, in my group of 25, there's some people who were visibly not interested. Mm-hmm. I could smell alcohol on their breath, and on this boat they had meat, as a regular part of their diet. So there were some people that were just, even though they were there, they were 1,000 miles away. Mm-hmm. And then there were other people that were intensely taking it in. Mm-hmm. One woman said, "I've seen more in 1 hour than I've seen in the 3 weeks I've been on this tour." I've seen more life. Another person commented, in the temple there's kirtan going on constantly when the deities are awake throughout the day. And it was just a normal day, in the early afternoon. And there were hundreds of people in the temple milling about, and they could see the devotional fervor, the what was there in people were experiencing, and they were experiencing something too. Mm. One thing that I said in the men's group is that the holy Dham is sacred. There's Leela, there's pastimes that have happened here. And the Dham itself has an effect on me. That's what maybe you were, what I was manifesting and talking about. But other people feel something. It's very tangible.
Very palpable.
Yes, yeah. And they were appreciating this. And then there's oxen, walking around, pulling carts, and just the whole package is quite inspiring.
If somebody wanted to go there and then they're not really so familiar with Hare Krishna, but they want to have kind of that experience, a spiritual experience in a holy Dham, from a practical point of view, are there accommodations? Are there restaurants? Those type of things. What's the infrastructure like?
Well, let's talk about the local people, the Indian people first. There are accommodations. I was explaining there are these very, very inexpensive. They're long structure like a hut, and they're sectioned off, and a family can stay there very easily for 2 or 3 nights, practically at no expense at all. And then directly across from this area is a large, massive prasadam distribution where they get free meals daily. It's like a large Quonset hut. Apparently, some man from South Africa, very wealthy man, sponsored the construction of this kitchen, did the dining hall, and I think it can fit hundreds of people. They're not on the floor either. There's a nice sitting area, and they're on a table. There's a table, and the devotees are serving them. So for the pilgrim, for the Indian pilgrim, they have these basic accommodations, and that's offered to them. And then for the Westerner, or for the outside of the culture, there are plenty of restaurants. There are plenty of housing facilities on campus and off of campus. And the off campus is very large in itself too. There's thousands of apartments some are available for rent. So it is possible to go there and be comfortable. And according to your financial means, you can find better, more modest accommodations. AC is possibility. There are shuttle totos going around the campus, and you can get on a toto and go here or there. Very, very, almost free. And then off of campus, there's multiple large communities that are being developed. Mm-hmm. So it's a city. There's
Nice.
sewage treatment facility. They just brought in from the substation about 3 or 4 miles away, like a big fat electrical cable, like 33,000 watts or amps. I don't know the difference, but 33,000 of something, big fat cable. And there's a building that's been constructed right next to there's the Lotus building and then the Conch building. I forget the order right now, but it's as big as one of those buildings, and that's the public works facility. That's where the water is brought in. That's where the electricity, there's transformers, and that 33,000, whatever it is broken down into smaller units. And there's this huge cable that goes into the TOVP, because this is a massive structure. So there's also that going on. So people say, why is it taking so long? Because there's a lot to it.
Oh my God. It's, it's like building the Sistine Chapel. It's many are saying it could be seen as, the eighth wonder of the world. So it's a magnificent undertaking. And the crown jewel of it is the chandelier, which is going to describe, according to the 5th canto in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the cosmology and structure of the universe. And so you say they're building that. I know the Garuda, who was on the show on our 2nd episode, he's now the head consultant for the pinnacle of the chandelier, which is the spiritual planet of Goloka Vrindavan, where Radha and Krishna's own abode. And so he's overseeing that. He's the advisor on that. That's going to be magnificent. The whole Vedic cosmology being able to be viewed in this planetarium.
Well, that's a good segue, because, I have to give a little bit of the backstory, then I'll get to this particular point. We were there, and we had our round-trip tickets were, of course, purchased. And the war in Iran broke out. And we fly on Qatar through Doha, and our flight was canceled. Mm-hmm. And you could fly the next day, and there were tens of thousands of people stranded in all different places in transit. We were fortunate because we were in Mayapur, and we have our own apartment, so we weren't impacted the way other people were. They were stranded in airports. They were doing a plane swap in Doha, and boom, boom is that's what it was. And so
Doha is in Qatar?
Yes, and it's one of the large hubs. There's Riyadh, and
and they were the IRGC was firing missiles into many of these countries.
Yes. So we could not return. We had to rebook our tickets, and we were looking online. If you wanted to leave the next day, you could get a seat, possibly, but it would cost like $7,000-8,000 for a one-way coach to fly back, and a round trip ticket on coach is like $1,600 normally. So one way back.
$8,000.
Yeah, and there was a lot of gouging going on, and I saw one ticket for $11,000. So all the airlines, and these were not convenient flights. These were like you fly to Mumbai, and you have a 6-hour layover, and then you have a direct flight to Heathrow, and then you have another 6-hour layover. And then so our return trip was a 48-hour door-to-door journey.
Wow.
So we were looking at the flights, and we saw that about 3 weeks out, the prices dropped down to a more reasonable level. My wife and I, we were in Mayapur, and I said, we've been here for a while. And my wife was sick. She had this dry cough that was persistent. And I thought, well, let's get out of the country. Let's go somewhere. So we were thinking of going to Thailand, which is only 3 hours away from Kolkata. But we settled on Cambodia. And we went to Angkor
Wat.
Angkor Wat.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad we went there. And
it's the largest Hindu temple in Southeast Asia, correct?
I had heard in the world.
Oh, really?
But my segue point was, as the TOV Planetarium will show the universal structure, that had already been depicted in stone carvings in the 11th century in Angkor Wat.
So the whole planetary structure is shown there in Angkor Wat.
No. But what is shown is there are basic themes. One of the themes is the Ramayana. Mm-hmm. Another theme is the pastimes in the Mahabharata. And then another theme are some of the stories from the Srimad Bhagavatam. And throughout Cambodia and Southeast Asia, this particular pastime of the churning of the ocean of milk with the demons and the demigods is very popular. Mm. And that is graphically depicted in the stone carving relief work in Angkor Wat. So what the TOVP is going to present in modern day, the Angkor Wat had already addressed this in the 11th century. Wow. And I had a tour guide, and this is what triggered the thought. My tour guide, he was quite learned in Hinduism, Sanskrit. He knew a lot of the history, the Puranas. And he said, I don't, and my wife was dressed in a sari. And he said, I don't normally get guests, like you who are knowledgeable. And so we went through he got very enlivened because we could appreciate and we knew what we were looking at. And
in other words, you understood the culture, you understood the scriptural basis, you understood the histories from the Ramayana, the Mahabharata.
Yes.
So you weren't somebody coming with, you weren't green in this matter.
No.
So he could dive deep into the subject matter.
Yeah. Although you do have a green thumb.
Well, I can't deny that.
It's a different kind of green.
Well, it's not easy being green.
Kermit the Frog.
Van Morrison sang that also.
Oh, you did? I didn't know that.
What's the name of the song?
It's not easy being green.
Oh,
to spend each day in the color of the leaves.
Oh.
Wow. Is that with them or is it solo Van Morrison?
Well, he was doing a copy. He was covering that for I think, the name is on the tip of my tongue.
What record is that
on? Hard Knows the Highway.
Okay. I'll have to check that out. Yeah. I do have a record collection downstairs. Okay. Do you have that record, Gargs?
I have some Van Morrison, like Astro Weeks and some other ones. I don't know if I have that one or not.
Astro Weeks came out when I was after Hard Knows the Highway.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's an earlier
like
release.
It's when he was on fire, with creativity. I'm stuck with who first sang it. Nat King Cole sang it.
Oh. Okay.
So,
what a voice.
He, so one of the panels at Angkor Wat, very large. These panels are like 150 feet long. They are massive, and they're individual segments. It's like frames in a film. One of them it's a depiction of Yamaraj, and he's depicted with 18 arms, and he's sitting on a throne, and he's passing judgment to the conditioned souls at the time of death. So in the stone carving, you see some of the living entities going upwards to the heavenly planet. The panel was broken into three sections, upper, middle, and lower. Then we're going from left to right. So in the upper panel, you see the living entities going up. In the middle, then you see the living entities continuing in the earthly plane, the human existence maybe. And then you see souls being condemned for their sinful activities going down to the hellish planets. And there are depictions of the hellish punishments that these condemned souls are undergoing.
So right out of the fifth canto.
Right out of the fifth canto. And our tour guide took us to one panel, and the Yamadutas are holding the sinful soul's mouth open, and he was a liar in his life, so they were putting a hot iron onto his tongue. Oh, that was the punishment. So the king, there were many, many kings. Angkor Wat was not the work of one king. There were many kings from many different centuries, although the main construction took 37 years. In the 11th century, although even that is contested. There's the legend of Angkor Wat, and I'll get to that in a moment. But our tour guide was showing us this, and he was saying that people who lie, who cheat, this is what they get. So what I was saying was that the king was educating the common man, because books were not, as far as my understanding of history, books were not present. The printing press came much, much later. So he could teach the people of his kingdom right from wrong by these stone carvings, these depictions.
So that's fascinating, because just like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, he was so much impressed upon his disciples and on Srila Prabhupada, our Srila Prabhupada, that I want these depictions, these dolls, these dioramas, so ordinary people can have a visceral experience of the philosophy, just like we have the Changing Bodies exhibit. As the embodied soul continually passes from childhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. Self-realized soul is not bewildered by such a change. So Prabhupada, the devotees made these Changing Bodies diorama of how the soul is passing through, reincarnating even in one lifetime. So this king back in the 11th century was educating his people in his kingdom to they could understand the dangers of transgressing the laws of nature and whatnot.
Yeah,
these hells are only temporary, though. Correct.
They're very, yes, they are temporary. That's one of the major differences between Vaishnavism and Christianity. The Christianity conception is that hell is eternal. You had one shot and you blew it, and now you're going to suffer forever.
Doesn't that seem a little draconian to have your tongue branded? Maybe it says liar or something on your tongue after the branding. You would think that the person is like doing some lying that is really consequential in a bad way, for people. I don't know. It sounds a little harsh.
Well,
maybe to a layman, it would sound harsh at least.
Yes, we don't understand pious activity from sinful activity.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't. That's one of the defects of Western society. They don't understand the reactions that are coming with the life choices that they are making.
Right.
It's almost like in modern day, if someone was caught lying, you would wash the boy's mouth out with soap.
Right.
So this is a little harsher, but the punishment fits the crime. But what I wanted to come around to, I'm saying all of this, is that we were talking about the TOVP, and then I segued into starting to talk about Angkor Wat and our trip to Cambodia, was that at the end of the tour, I told my tour guide to pull up TOVP on his phone. Mm-hmm. And I was explaining to him, we are building a temple. And I gave some of the dimensions like I gave earlier in this presentation. 425 feet high. And he said, this is bigger than Angkor Wat.
Angkor Wat's like 285 feet.
Yes, right? Yes. And he said, this is bigger. He said, this is the Angkor Wat of the 21st century.
So he could really appreciate it.
Did he know anything about it?
Nothing. This was the first thing he had ever heard of it.
Wow.
But he was being a tour guide of spiritual, religious sites. He immediately recognized what he was looking at as being very substantial.
It's right up his alley.
Right up his alley, for sure.
Yeah.
Yes. So
that must have been great, though, to see that in Cambodia and to be able to show him that when you were there.
Well, it was interesting that Cambodia and India they're connected by land, which of course there's the Bay of Bengal that's that sits between them, but you can go through Thailand, through Burma or modern day Myanmar.
Yeah, Myanmar.
And then you can come down.
Myanmar.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But my understanding from what little reading I've done is that this king brought engineers and architects and design people from India in the 11th century. They were employed, and he was a Hindu king at that time. Buddhism came later to Cambodia, but it was very much aligned with the Vedic civilization that was flourishing during this time. Interesting, 400 years before the Chaitanya era even began, Angkor Wat was a thing. So we had a very nice experience there, and we went to. There were botanical gardens. There was the National Museum. We spent a day in each of these, or a portion of the day, walking around, taking everything in. It was not hard to find sattvic food there. There are Buddhists there, and no onion, no garlic. And we found one particular place. It was all being sourced from organic farms, and they were supporting the farms, and the farms were growing for the restaurant. It's a very symbiotic relationship.
Nice.
And the cooking, it was very high, the presentation, the very high energy meals, and we went there multiple times.
I know. We have a large picture, a beautiful picture of Angkor Wat in our yoga meditation room, which I'll show you. But one thing that's impressive is that there's these massive bamboo trees that seem like they were part of the structure, right?
Yes. I think banyan.
Excuse me, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Banyan trees. My bad. Banyan trees. That's what I meant to say. And it was like, it was very. It's just like they're built into the structure, and it's very impressive.
Well, nature is taking over.
Yeah.
Nature will reclaim man's creation. So you do see. We saw a face of the Buddha in a tree, and it was completely wrapped around with the trunks and the branches of the banyan. And it was it's the antiquity is very and sweet. You definitely feel akin. And they also have depictions of the devas and the demigods. The apsaras are all throughout the structure.
Could you explain to our audience what an apsara is?
Well, the apsaras they're beautiful heavenly ladies who are adept at dancing
and singing.
Yes. And they play musical instruments, and they are glorifying. They're giving pleasure to the king. They're glorifying the Lord, and they were apparently generated from this churning of the ocean of milk. The apsaras appeared. Mm-hmm. So,
how are they compared to some of the Hollywood stars who we see in the Oscars or the Grammys?
Well, they're all very slender.
Okay.
Very beautiful feminine form. Many of them had the eyes that are more identified as coming from the Orient, and
elongated,
and they wore beautiful crowns, beautiful garlands. I mean, they're they're in stone, but they're definitely appealing, to say the least.
So there's the full the spiritual realm and the different heavenly realms also. There's so much variegatedness, just like we see in this world. So, when people think of the kingdom of God or the different heavenly planets, it's a multiplication times a quadrillion of what we're experiencing here in terms of beauty, variety, and high realization, and ultimately of love.
You got Hawaii, you got Alabama, you got Brooklyn.
That's a lot. Those are the three modes of nature right there. You also were talking about this part of Calcutta called New City, right? Newtown. So you had some cool experiences there, and I think the library of the Bhaktivinoda Memorial Library, what it was. But yeah, maybe you can reflect on some of these experiences you had in this Newtown area.
That would be my pleasure. Kolkata is in West Bengal, and so much of our Gaudiya history is coming through Kolkata. Srila Prabhupada was born in Kolkata. So,
right. You were talking the construction of Prabhupada's birthplace and
yes,
renovation, etc.
Yeah. So to bring a little more focus to what I'm trying to say, we were invited to go to Newtown. There's a temple there that is under construction. They have their Ambarish Ford of Newtown. He's said to be the 6th wealthiest man in Calcutta. He's an aspiring disciple of Radhanath Maharaj. And it was explained to me there's 2 problems with money. Either you don't have enough or you have too much. So this is a very wealthy man, and
probably like the second. I'd probably be it would be better to have the second problem.
Well, maybe not.
Depends on one's attitude.
I read a story once in the Washington Post, a man who won the lottery. He won hundreds of millions of dollars, and he bought a muscle sports car for his son, and his son killed himself in that car. And the man cursed this money that he had won, that he himself became a womanizer. He was going to prostitutes, and he just became a lowlife. So money, if it's improperly used, can be the path to hell. But this particular man, he's quite generous, but he's helping to establish the temple. He's not the underwriter exclusively. So they have purchased 22 acres, which is a lot of land, and it's in a developing part of the town of Kolkata, so the land was less expensive. And there was a particular line, like if you live on this side of the road, it's 3 times more expensive. And if you purchase something on this side, it's three times less. So they bought on the cheaper side and were able to get 22 acres. They have this very ambitious master plan. And what you're referring to is the BCR, the Bhaktivedanta Research, Bhaktivedanta Research Center. And the Newtown devotees are so learned and understand where these different things happened in Mayapur, in Calcutta, and you go on a tour. So they took us on a tour to the BCR. And this is a research. This was started by Hari Sari and I think he's Swiss or from Switzerland. He's a doctoral Vaishnava, and they are collecting the old manuscripts from previous acharyas. They have the songbooks of Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
The original
songbooks. They were given practically an entire collection of the publications of the Gaudiya Math and Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj's time. There were newspapers that were published on a fortnightly. There was a daily paper. There's in English. They were in Bengali. They were such a collection. There was a Western doctoral professor and he gave his entire collection of over 1,000 books. And I'm not sure if he's passed away or not. I wish I was more informed, but I can tell you that he taught a doctoral class through the BCR. In the BCR, you can see on the palm leaves the actual writings in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's own hand. His hand, his written.
So they have the originals from
Shikshastakam?
I don't know if it's Shikshastakam, but I do know that they presented us to these. This is the handwriting of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
So these are 550 years old, etc. From the original, and then that's how they used to write. That's how the Goswamis wrote. They wrote on palm leaves.
Yes. And it goes all through, from 500 years to modern day. The Srila Prabhupada's, many of his manuscripts, the transcripts are also there. It's being microfilmed. It's being preserved. So they have over 25,000 documents in this research library, and PhD candidates in Vaishnavism and Hinduism, whatever, can go and study there. They have accommodations for them. And it's a research library, so they can actually spend weeks and weeks there and studying the writings of the Goswamis. So this whole BCR is going to be moved to the Newtown Temple in time. They're in the old part of Kolkata. So from Newtown, we were given tours, and this is one of the places that we visited. When we arrived in Newtown, and we were talking about the scope of how much time we had, I said, well, we have a day. They said, you won't even scratch the surface in a day. We could show you, we could take you to places for a month. So we stayed for 2.5 days. And right across from the Newtown Temple, there are these 30-story high-rise apartments, and different life members own different apartments. So we were put up very nice accommodations on the 19th floor. Every morning they would come and pick us up for the morning program, take us back in the evening. Sureshwara Prabhu was there, and he was in a different building, and we would pick him up as well. And we would go to the morning program, and he was giving his Prabhupada presentation. It's something that he's been working on for
Founder Acharya presentation.
Thank you, the Founder Acharya. That's it exactly. And we traveled together. It was a group of about 4 or 5 of us. Another day, they took us to the place where Srila Prabhupada as Abhay Charan met Bhaktisiddhanta on the
balcony,
on the rooftop, Uta Junction Road, if I'm saying it properly. This has been completely restored in period. This renovation was extremely expensive. There's a group of maybe 20, maybe 30 artisans. They're carpenters. They're carvers. They're marble people. They're floor people. And they had renovated this property, which is now in the care of ISKCON. I should back up a little bit. Before Srila Prabhupada passed away, he created the Bhaktivedanta Trust. And this was a foundation to receive places of significant importance that were in decline or that were neglected, and they were to be cared for, and they were to be preserved, renovated, and held on to. So this Bhaktivedanta Trust is taking these properties, receiving them, and investing a substantial amount of money to preserve our lineage. So we saw the Uta Junction. So whoever, I'm sorry that I'm not pronouncing it probably right. This is what you get.
It's the spirit that matters, not the exact pronunciation.
Before, you remember we met earlier and I said, in your podcast, you've had 2 Harvard graduates, and I'm a high school dropout. So this is what you get, somebody with a poor memory who can't pronounce things properly.
But
you're very well spoken.
Okay.
Yeah. And you have the heart of a Vaishnav PhD.
Okay. So moving on. So maybe 10, 15 minutes by Kolkata traffic time is the home of Bhaktivinoda Thakur called Bhaktipavan. And he bought this home. He bought this land and actually built a home there. He spent 7,000 rupees on this property. When they were digging the foundation back in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's day, they unearthed a Shalagram Shila, a Korma Shila.
Wow.
I had never seen this or never heard of this before. And they found this Korma Shila, and Bhaktisiddhanta worshipped this deity. Bhaktivinoda Thakur worshipped this deity. And so it's inside the house. So
how big is it?
It's massive.
Really?
This
Shila.
Oh! I thought you meant the house. Oh, the Shila is about like
pretty big.
like this.
That's a big Shila.
Inside the house, there were 15 or so families living there, and they had been there for decades. Probably they were broken up into little apartments, and ISKCON received this property, and I don't know the history of that, but they took possession and title, and they wanted to restore this to bring it up to its original glory. And the 15 families, some of them were offered like buyouts. We will buy you an apartment. We will offset the inconvenience of you having to leave. And it got down to about 4 or 5 families, and
so the like 10 or 11 of them took the offer.
They took the offer and moved on, but we couldn't really begin the renovation until everyone was out. So these 4 or 5 families were brought over to the restored property of this Uttadanga Junction Road property.
Where Prabhupada met
where
Srila,
this most important historical place. And they saw this renovation, beautifully done in period. And they said, okay, we finally understand. Okay. So they were.
So it was in period.
They all
meaning,
agreed.
What's that?
They all agreed.
They all agreed.
Wow.
And
because they got the vision and they could see how important
yes,
it was.
they got the bigger vision. And and you can sacrifice something for a higher cause.
Did they offer him a little more?
I don't know. I would assume the first ones out probably got less, possibly, and the last one was more expensive. But I didn't have the time, nor did I really have the not so
inclination.
It wasn't so important to me.
Right.
Then Radhanath Maharaj, I am told, donated $1 million, and the renovation of this property began. And when we were there, and they took us there after we went to the first historical site, which I've been talking about, we went to Bhakti Bhavan, and this place was a beehive of activity. Inside, the residents explained that over here, this cot, this wooden frame is the bed that Bhaktivinoda Thakur left his body on. And over here in this closet, let's move away some of the other things. This is Radha Madhava. These are the deities that Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote Jai Radha Madhava to. These are the actual deities that he I don't want to say inspired him, but his prayer was offered to them. And then there was the Kurma Shila. We saw the japa beads of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So this renovation is going on at full speed, fully funded. And they're going to have a grand opening sometime the latter part of this month, April.
So when you say if renovated fully in period, so the period was with the first place was like, what, about 1913? What was the...
Yes.
1913, wasn't it?
Yes, and I would say this Bhakti Bhavan would predate that to a certain extent.
Yeah, probably more like late 1800s.
Yeah, I was thinking 1888,
Yeah.
1890, but I'm offering that as
Right.
as
So fully in the period, the first place that you saw where our Srila Prabhupada met his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. So everything was in that period. So that must have been quite an experience walking into that environment. What was that experience like for you?
Well, my nature is, my wife and I have always bought older homes, and we like to restore old places. The house we're living here in Alachua is 100 years old when we bought it, and we did a complete restoration. So I have a certain appreciation of the construction, the value, the legacy or whatever that took place. So they have done such a beautiful job. The light switches are all in period. The plumbing fixtures in the bathroom, you see the electrical wires on. They're not buried inside the wall. It's just the colors, the artwork, the steps were all. You could walk up the steps at Abhay Charan.
Wow.
Srila Prabhupada. Those very steps are still there. So what is it like? It's well, I'm filled with gratitude that our society is at a point where we appreciate and we are preserving, and this Bhaktivedanta Trust is having many, many successes. And
important landmarks.
Yes.
For future generations.
Yes. So that was part of my trip, and that was one of the higher experience. It was profound.
So you experienced so many things, saw quite a wide variety spectrum of the improvements and the projects being actually manifest in the world now. The TOVP, this what you just saw, the restoration of these two buildings, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and where Prabhupada met Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. And you met many people, and you had so many experiences. Coming back to the West now, because, my experience, having been to India many times, is when we come back, we're filled with these experiences. We're filled with the spirit of bhakti. We're filled with those being in the holy dham and its effect on our consciousness and on our mind, our intelligence, and on our heart. So reflecting back on that, what are your takeaways from that trip? How has it changed you, and what are your takeaways?
Well,
and when are you going back?
I didn't want to leave. I've been to India, many, many times. But this trip was unique in many ways, and the previous trip was also very unique. But talking about takeaways, I can step back and paint a little bit of a larger picture, and then I can come to one of my takeaways, and is that our generation, the direct disciples of Srila Prabhupada, as we know, we are passing on, we are leaving, we are aging out. And I see future generations with the enthusiasm that we had when we were 20 and 30. I was saying in the men's group, one of the highlights of my day would be I would go to the morning program in Mayapur and the Guru Puja. So the Vyasasana is back against a wall, and then the Prabhupada men are on the Prabhupada disciples are on one side, and then the female disciples of Srila Prabhupada are on the other. And then facing Srila Prabhupada is the multitudes. And during Guru Puja, to see hundreds and hundreds of people singing Guru, just singing with such fervor and feeling and surrender. And I could see
from many generations.
Yes.
Younger, middle,
Yes. And from many, many places.
Right. All over the world.
And I felt like I can see the transition of time taking place. And I felt very assured that as we move on, that there were people coming in to taking more positions of responsibility. And, this is my own view. And I said that I am an optimist by nature. So I see things in a certain way, and maybe somebody else might see something different. But this is what I saw. So, and then, panning back a little farther, you see the TOVP, you see, and I misquoted. I said 75,000 people were coming a month. It's more like 750,000 people. So I was off by a factor of 10. You can get 70,000
minor detail.
Yeah. I'm glad I got that that correction. So
750,000 people are coming every month. Just imagine what that'll be like when the project is finished.
They are projecting a natural increase, and other people, not just Indian people, but people from
all over. And Prabhupada said, that's the prediction. What are some of the predictions in regards to the TOVP in terms of this project and its effect on future generations and the whole world?
Well, the temple is called ISKCON Chandrodaya Mandir, and Chandrodaya is the rising moon. Chandra is the moon. So Srila Prabhupada told us that the influence of Vaishnavism will increase for a substantial period of time in this Kali Yuga that we're experiencing, that we're presently in, and we're also experiencing it for sure. But that this would be a place where people could come, be educated, and be in the truths of life, and then that they could also become qualified and trained to present this truth to the world, to their own communities, their own country. So trying to get the bigger picture, and you're asking me what was my takeaway. I'm speaking to that now, and I see positive growth. I see a bright future. I saw young people with great enthusiasm. And I met this young girl. She's 13 years old. She chants 16 rounds a day. She's an aspiring for initiation. She's been chanting since 16 rounds since she was like 8 or 10.
Wow.
And she takes it very seriously. I mean, and
where's she from?
She's a Russian. And her name is Radha. And her parents are...
Does she have braces?
She should. But she has pimples. But I see positive things. So your question was, what was my takeaway coming back to the West? I see that we're in a time right now of tremendous turmoil. The world is fighting with itself in ways that we've never seen before, and with these horrible weapons, these drones that are very inexpensive to build and can fly, can be programmed and can go take out targets thousands or hundreds of miles away. We see a lot of infighting within the worlds, within our family. And we see a tremendous lack of truth. And this is one of the symptoms of Kali Yuga, is that the four pillars of religiosity are greatly diminished, but the one pillar that is badly damaged but still has some function was truth.
Satyam.
And we see truth is being attacked in a very serious way now. We see people talking about fake news, or this is AI. This is we could generate this whole podcast, through AI and have me saying all.
Maybe we should touch him to see if he's real.
So
we have no idea if this show is even real. Okay. Do you?
No, but it's true. It's true what you say. Continue on.
We're talking about truth here, and we see that truth is being challenged, and we see that. I don't want to speak about our political government in I don't want to name names, but we see that in general politicians are known to be untruthful. They say one thing when they're running for election, and then when they get into the office, they do something completely different. So what I see is that people are really thirsty and hungry for something that is truthful, that is real, that is meaningful,
and that is pure.
Yeah, and yes, that is pure. That's a very good point to summarize it. That is real. People are hankering for it, and that's what I recognized when I was 15 years old. I saw something that was tangible and appealing and attracted me. Well, that hasn't changed, and we're all parts and parcels. We're all connected to Krishna. We all have an eternal identity. And this Kali Yuga is just challenging us in so many ways. So what I see when I came back is that the need for us to stand up and try to do something practical, something of significance, even if it's a small thing. It doesn't have to be that you name something big. It doesn't have to be, but just something genuine, something that you can offer to His divine grace. So I see the need, and I hope that as individuals we can take up the clarion call. And that's so I'll backtrack a little bit. One thing you didn't ask that I was talking about was that I was giving class in Mayapur
right.
to the Russian.
Yes. Thank you.
And
I remember that. I remember you speaking about that.
I was asked to speak in the main for the main Bhagavatam class in the
the Russian devotees.
Well, no. Originally, I was asked if I could give class to the in the temple in front on the and
we're talking to a few thousand people.
Yes, and I felt a little intimidated by that. I felt that that was a real stretch for me. But then I was asked to give class to the Russians, and I felt very comfortable in that environment. It was much smaller. It was in a different place. And the Russians themselves were very, very attentive listeners.
And somebody was translating.
Yes, yeah. And then I would speak, and then their questions were very nice. So I was experiencing the outreach, the presenting Krishna consciousness. And so that was really profound for me, and I was getting quite a taste. So my realization to come back to the West is that I want to continue with some outreach. I want to touch people somewhere in some way to present this Krishna consciousness.
And this podcast is perfect for it.
Well, yes, and when you
have
ask,
millions of viewers.
I have heard they're limitless.
On many different planetary systems. But
I didn't know we were broadcasting on
intergalactically.
You've been drinking the elixir.
I have. Don't tell anybody.
He got a hold of the Somarasa.
Well, when you asked me, I felt this was a perfect.
And that's what I wanted to. I wanted to showcase the, what I would say like what I said, the sweetness of your. There's a palpable humility and compassionate nature of your heart, and also, and you're very well spoken. But there's the softness of which is like the beauty of Krishna Bhakti touching the heart and wanting to offer that to others for their upliftment. And that emanates from you. And your experience in India to me was an extension of that. And I wanted to showcase that.
Well, there could be no higher compliment to offer a person than what you just said. And thank you for that.
Yeah, I'll send you the bill. But I mean it. I mean it sincerely. And it's like I'm reminded of. I was reading the other night, in Prabhupada's memories, the anecdotal memories. It was Guru Kripa, and he used to bring Prabhupada the dobs, the coconut water, coconut juice right from the coconut. Brought Prabhupada this one night, and Prabhupada would kind of have him as like his confidant, and you'd be able to sit with Srila Prabhupada. It was very intimate. And there was at this particular time, there was a man that was some important person it was in India, obviously. I think it was I can't remember if it was in Vrindavan or Mayapur, but there was an appointment at 4:00. Some man was supposed to come, and the man didn't come. Prabhupada he said it was like, well, who is coming next? And his mood was like, I just want to share this. And Guru Kripa said that he always noted from Srila Prabhupada that his mood was consistently, ubiquitously, how do I help the suffering conditioned souls? How do I give them this great gift of Krishna Bhakti, and a genuine experience of love of God through the holy name, through hearing of the Vedic literatures, through the association of the devotees, through the taking of prasadam. And I mean, that's what the whole Mayapur project is. That's what Prabhupada's whole mission is for. And, you experience that. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was really cool, really poignant that you started as a young man of 15 looking for something genuine and pure and real. That was your whole, and you noticed that when you saw the devotees in Georgetown, and that you came back from your trip, you having kind of reinvigorated, having experienced that again in this kind of international movement that you saw the young people in many generations experiencing that in an enthusiastic way, and that you felt very positive about the future and very, as you said, you used the word assured about the future. And I would agree with that, that for all the faults, all the missteps, all the sometimes tragic missteps of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness and the leadership, that in spite of all of that,
and in spite of all the black pillars who are saying, who only see doom and gloom.
Yeah, glass half full, glass half empty. I mean, if God is real, which we have all had the experience, he is very real. And he cares for us, and he loves us. And he's there for us, and he's there to give us shelter, and he's sent his representatives to encourage us and give us shelter and give us guidance. That God is the summum bonum of ultimate positivity, because there is the great hope beyond the suffering of this world to be ameliorated by this process of glorifying the name of God, serving God, calling out his name. And Prabhupada came to build a house that the whole world could live in. And you were experiencing that in Mayapur.
If I can add one thing.
Yes, please.
Maybe in closing, I don't know.
Yes, I think this is a good time.
One thing that I experienced, partly giving class to the Russian-speaking devotees, was that I'm viewed now as an elder. And I was experiencing people coming up and asking me practical questions. How did you make decisions? How did you raise your children? One person asked me, looking back over your devotional life, what are some of the things that you regret and that you wish you had done?
Very, very real questions.
Yes, and I welcomed those questions, and I found them very encouraging for me, and I could give, being approached as an elder, tell me something of that will help me, and I felt that I'm sort of at a loss for words now, but this type of candid openness, this revealing of oneself. Tell me where you really screwed up and what you would advise me to avoid. Wow. That sort of thing, And I see that as a barometer of a healthy.
Yes, people being genuine, vulnerable, real, asking, how do we incorporate this this high philosophy in a very real way in the practical daily decisions of life?
Mm-hmm. So, in summary, it was a very good experience, and I'm looking forward to the day, like as many, many, many people are, the day that Panchatattva are brought over to the new temple, and the day that Radha Madhava are moved. Panchatattva will be in the center altar. Radha Madhava will be to the right.
Panchatattva, the Lord in 5 features.
Yes, five truths in 5 features. They will be center stage. And then Lord Nrsingadev will have his own darshan wing, and Radha Madhava will be on the right hand side, and then the parampara.
It's so beautiful. It's like
on the left.
In Yiddish, it's like the whole mishpocha, which is the family. So it's like God's. There's the conception in all the Abrahamic traditions of God is the old man, but in our Gaudiya Vaishnav understanding, it's the revelation of God's family as a person, as having many expansions that perform many different functions, and God's feminine counterpart. I mean, it's so beautiful.
There's a lot there.
Yeah. And the bell has rang.
Okay. The class is over.
Well, Pushpavan, thank you so much for spending your time with us, for sharing these pastimes, these realizations, your transcendental magical mystery tour in India. And thank you for your years of dedicated service to Srila Prabhupada's mission and for growing these beautiful flowers. You are one of the flowers. You are one of Srila Prabhupada's beautiful flowers. And your fragrance is very divine.
Cut.
It's the fragrance of your realization.
Well, thank you.
And that's it's like seeing that in so many that have stayed the course. There's many have fallen on the battlefield, but so many have stayed the course of practicing this.
Well, I know that I'm soft-spoken. I'm not aggressive. Although maybe some people might say that, but
maybe your wife.
I was thinking of her. But in general, I'm soft-spoken. People feel I'm non-threatening.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would have pegged you as being like a great lead vocalist for a death metal band.
That's my next life. If I don't like this Hare Krishna movement.
Right. Just give one life. Next life, you can be the lead singer of a heavy metal band. But how can, if people want to contact you, are you online in any form or fashion?
I am going to create a Facebook community based around my garden.
Okay.
This is not a shameless plug, but I'm going to have a fundraiser in the near future to help develop the garden beyond where it's at right now. So I am going to create a Facebook, and I'll be featuring beautiful flowers and the flowers adorning the Lord's form, and gardening things and all things earthy and goodness.
Nice.
So that's coming. I don't have it now.
No, just now coming.
Just now coming.
Well, thank you so much. If you've received some value out of this, which it would be hard not to, please like and subscribe to our channel. We're going to be having on many other luminaries such as Pushpavan and all sorts of different spicy characters from all over the world on many different subjects. And Gargs, closing words.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. It was great having you. I really enjoyed your experiences, your wisdom, your eloquence, your whole presence, the whole package. It was beautiful.
Well, thank you. I was a little nervous coming in. I saw your deities before coming up, and I asked, please let me speak with humility and try to be as free from false ego as possible, and not feel myself to be so important, but part of something that is very important.
Well said.
Fantastic.
Let's end on that. And okay, beautiful. Listen, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in.
Follow our social media.
Hare Krishna.
Please.
Hare Krishna.
Living a simple life in a complicated world. It's like walking on a high wire while the crowd below you hurls all those things that are meant to shake